What's up? How's it going, everybody? Unfortunately, there is no Vash for you guys to get run over by with his stampede, but that is a-okay. We have the rest of the team here to talk to you guys about Raw tonight. And again, I'm not alone. I have my good old friend here. Drop this box. Drop, how you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. We're getting to the build of Bad Blood. Well, I
Oh,
guess it
yeah.
technically started last week, but got a lot of confirmations tonight.
Yeah, a lot of matches set up and a lot of segments that just kind of built upon
Mm.
what we've already been talking about, what we've already been seeing, and all that. But hey, I see some of you guys in the chat. I see Vash already in the chat, kind of holding it down for you guys. Don't worry, he's got to take care of a few things. So you got me and Drop to contend with you on with Raw. But hey, if you are new here, you haven't checked us out yet, well, first of all, welcome as always. But who exactly are we? Well, with anime in our souls and thoughts of wrestling out of control, tonight we are a special duo of weebs who love the entertainment of professional wrestling. So allow us to be the voices inside of your head as we go through the wrestling event of the evening, give our thoughts and predictions on what's to come, and provide an experience inclusive to all nerds out there. So be sure to yell for the table, grab your steel chair, and get put through an experience unlike any other. We are brought to you by Animo Studio, and this is the Weebs of the Ring podcast. I introduced my friend Drop This Box earlier. I am, of course, your world champion, Hawkins here. And like every Monday night, we just cut to the chase. We don't have time to talk about our weekends or any other wrestling that we consumed. Nah, we got to get right into the nitty gritty of this gritty. And we are going to start with our headline story, main event tonight to finish off the IC title tournament that we had for the past couple weeks, our fatal four-way match between Jey Uso, Ilja Dragunov, Pete Dunne, and Braun Strowman. Drop, how'd you like this match, or did you not like this match? Talk to me. How'd you feel about this match?
For the most part, I already knew the outcome of this match just because they made it super obvious these past couple weeks. I mean, seeing the constant stare downs between Braun Breaker and Jey Uso was just a dead giveaway because you already know right off the bat they're going to be using that in the video package to promote their matches, which is something to keep an eye on in the future if they ever do things like that. It's almost like they're pretty much giving you the result right there. But I thought it was a pretty good match. I mean, we have Jey Uso, we got Ilja Dragunov, Pete Dunne, and Braun Strowman in it. And the only two people I would say that realistically could have won that is Jey Uso and Ilja Dragunov, because Pete Dunne is currently dealing with Sheamus and also Trick Williams at NXT, which they have a last man standing match tomorrow. Trick and Ilja, I mean not Ilja, Trick and Pete Dunne. So obviously he already has things going on, and then Braun Strowman still has things going on with Bronson Reed. So when you notice when certain people already have like a current thing going on for them, that's pretty much like a dead giveaway of like what's going on. But I thought the match was good though. I mean, we had a lot of good competitors in the match, but for the most part, I guess I could say I wasn't really surprised with the result, like I said.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't either, and I like how you mentioned the other storylines that are going on, because I didn't want to have like the overall being like, oh, Bronson Reed's gonna come back and screw over Braun Strowman, because I mean,
I'll be honest, I actually wasn't even thinking about that at first when I was watching the match.
like the thought crossed my mind, but then I was like, wait, no, he was tested positive for COVID. So like he could still be out for a bit, but I guess
Yeah.
maybe like the tests came back in a weird time period where he could come back to work. So
Yeah.
but I love the spot they did though for that, because it was like, and I put it in our notes as a quote unquote flying tsunami through the announce table. I thought it looked great, like especially for guys that size to pull off a stunt like this. Oh, it was beautiful.
I honestly think if I'm not mistaken, I think he's done like one move where he flips over. I don't know if it was like a swanton or no, it was he's done a moonsault before actually.
Yeah, I think I remember the moonsault he did.
Yep.
I forgot who he was facing with that. Oh man, but yeah, I I really like that spot. But like the whole story of the match is like, okay, Braun, even though he's injured, is still a monster to be taken down, and
Yeah,
it's still like they could barely take him down, even with all three of them going after him.
I know. It wasn't until Ilya hit that move that caught him off guard.
Oh man, Ilya was another one that
See,
looked.
that's
Everybody
another
looked good
one.
in this match.
That's another one that like I do want to talk about is
Yeah.
that Ilya Dragunov, like ever since he came up to the main roster, I mean, he had a good display when it came to a couple matches, like the match that he had at Ricochet, for example, when it came to like the King of the Ring tournament. But I'm really hoping that they have some sort of game plan of Ilya Dragunov in the future because he's the only one I really don't know what they could do. Because, like I spoke about before, the other guys have things going on for them. I mean, now Jey Uso has something going on with Braun Breaker. So it's like, where does that leave Ilya? Like, who's he going to feud with? Is he going to be off TV again? Is he going to be on speed? Like, I'm really hoping they do something with Ilya because, like we spoke about last week, we know that Gunther is a world champion. And obviously, whenever he comes across these different opponents in the future, you want to make sure that you build them up properly so the audience can get behind them. So I'm hoping whenever that time comes, because you know it's in Triple H's head, I'm hoping he has some sort of game plan for Ilya or something for him to do in the meantime because he's a great talent and I would hate to see him wasted because somebody like him shouldn't be wasted where they're just sitting on the sidelines not doing anything. Like he definitely needs to be out there, even if it's like a feud with some random guy, but they have good chemistry for a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if we even got something like Mello and Andrade on Friday, but like Ilya has some sort of beef with some other guy for a little bit just to keep him relevant in front of the audience's faces because he's one of my favorite guys. I would just hate for him to go to waste.
Oh, same here. And like we thought we were gonna get that when he was kind of starting stuff with Ricochet there, because like they
Yeah.
were kind of off and on too. But like,
Mhm.
I mean, we see how that went, with
Yeah.
Ricochet leaving and all that. But I do at least want to point out, like the company does see something in Ilya. Like
Mhm.
they've had him main event this like Raw at least 4 times I can think of.
Mhm.
Which I mean that's something to write home about, but it's like I'm kind of in the same boat as you. It's like, okay, I need something to really sink my teeth in with Ilya right now because like I really like him as a star and as a performer. So like I want more Ilya Dragunov on my TV. It's just you gotta actually do it, and I
Exactly.
mean he's been on the main roster since what, Mania? So that's already been like 4 months already,
Yep.
like 4.5 months. So it's like eh, let's start building something more with all this. Like let's not
Mhm.
just have them be on TV for like a couple weeks and then be on like speed or main event for a couple weeks and then back on TV. It's like, well, that's kind of start stop, and that's something that a lot of people didn't like in your old regime,
No.
So yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Just give me more Dragunov because he has excellent in-ring chemistry with anybody he's in the ring with. Like, hell, give me him versus Braun Strowman. Like he was trying to take down Braun. Him and Pete Dunne were like they were chipping down on Braun tonight, which was good.
Yeah, that's one that that's one thing I can say about him is that
Mhm.
he does seem, not saying that he doesn't work with like anybody else's size, but I have noticed that he does work very well with people bigger than him.
Mhm. And I mean, vice versa with like bigger guys too. Like, I mean, you look at some of Brock Lesnar's best matches in the past like 3, 5 years or something.
Mhm.
And a lot of them are with like smaller people. Like, look at his
Yeah.
match with like AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan. I think he faced Finn Balor at one point.
Yeah, I believe so.
Um, and then his one match with Ricochet. I mean, again, like short matches, but it's like they at least made Brock work a little bit
Yeah.
for it. Oh man. But I did want to shout out again, like Pete Dunne too, because like he was he was in control most of this match. Like he was running the pace of this match, which I would be very curious to see who produced this match, because we know that Pete Dunne's been doing some producer work like in the back, outside of his on-screen stuff. I wonder if he had like a hand in producing this.
He could. I
You
wouldn't be
know,
surprised. The only other people I could possibly think of that could have took part in this is maybe Bobby Roode, because I know Bobby Roode's in the back doing production now, because that's what he wants to do.
Which, I mean, good on him. I mean, I would, man, what could have been with him as a top heel in the company?
He would have been there right now. Like this current setting with what we're watching right now, he would have been right there. But he's been doing a great job producing these matches, though.
Oh yeah.
I don't really know what matches they do until they tell me.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know either until we get those reports and all that. The finish of the match, like with Jey winning, like I know you said it earlier too. It's like I wasn't surprised with the outcome. We've been kind of building towards it, but I do like tonight how they had Braun Breaker interact with the other members in this fatal four-way, at least giving us some sort of hope that like Ilja Dragunov could win, or like Braun Strowman could win. Like not only that, but like planting seeds for future stories down the line with Braun Breaker.
One thing,
especially go ahead.
Oh, what were you gonna? No, you can go first.
I was just gonna say, especially the one with Braun Strowman. Like I've been looking forward to that one since Braun Breaker went up to the main roster.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like there's a lot of people that he can feud with. So I am looking forward to that, because him as a heel, which I'm glad they actually went down that direction, because it feels like more natural that way. Because I remember watching him at NXT, and he was a face for I think for like a good majority of his NXT title run. But then after a while, he ended up turning heel. I think that what might have been around the time when him and Mello started feuding, and then he ended up putting Mello over at that Stand and Deliver that last year. But I do like this work as a heel because it just feels more natural. But there's a lot of guys for him to work with, so he should have like a good run with that title before he eventually moves on to like the main title scene, which is a good thing for him, because there's no rush, because they obviously want to, take their time with Gunther. I don't personally think he's going to take the title off of Gunther. I personally think it's going to be somebody else that's been in the company for over 20 plus years, which it's just my gut feeling, which I have nothing against it, because I mean, you look at Gunther as that guy. I mean, he's the final boss. But Braun Breaker definitely has like a bright future ahead of him. I really love the presentation with them, because I remember back then when we were talking, there was like a lot of squash matches at first, and I know we weren't really big fans of that, because yes, we know he's like this powerhouse and he can take everybody down, but the presentation now, it just seems like not even comparable from what we saw like all those months ago. Because we know deep down he's very talented.
Oh yeah, like we know what he can do. I mean, if you watched any of his NXT stuff, you know what that freaking nature can do. But like, I like too how, I mean, that basically was the building blocks to what we have now. Because I mean, you saw Braun Breaker when he first came onto the main roster. It's like, yeah, here I am, ultra babyface. I'm gonna destroy this guy. And then it's like the next week, I'm gonna destroy this guy. And then by like the 5th week, he's that's when we started getting the frustration. It's like, wait, okay, you're giving me these opponents that aren't really testing me.
Yep.
And then you don't even put me in this tournament where like there's some new guys in there too. So why aren't I getting a shot? Like, and I love how it just built up to his IC title win against Sami Zayn. And now that we had that foundation of seeing just like his fall with the frustration, and now it's just like, I'm getting recognized for what I am, a champion. And I don't think he's going to be losing that title anytime soon.
Yeah, and he's definitely going to have it.
Yeah.
Throughout the rest of the year. My bet I mean, my prediction as of now, because it could change in the future, is I personally see him having that belt until WrestleMania, because I feel like they want to give Sheamus, even though I'm not sure if Sheamus signed the contract yet.
I
Um,
saw, yeah, I think he's in negotiations right now.
mhm. But if that like
And
goes through, which I'm pretty positive that pretty confident it will, I would assume, based on like my prediction now, because things could change depending on what story they're telling around that time next year. But I personally
mhm,
think he's going to be dropping it to Sheamus. But because they want to
yeah,
give him that moment before he retires, obviously, because it would kind of suck if you just retire and you can't complete that one goal. But it's like
yes,
I
Cena.
do see him having a good run.
Yeah, I do
That's
too.
another thing.
And yeah,
That's another thing. Like Cena never got the IC title. I'm kind of surprised, but
yep.
yeah, Braun. Um, one thing I will say about this match that I am happy about, since we did speak on Ilya Dragunov, I'm happy he
Mhm.
didn't take the pin. I mean, that's a
Oh,
good
me
thing,
too. He
because
basically did the heavy lifting for Jay, in
mhm,
a good way. In a good way. Like I'm not mad that Jay won. Like it's don't worry,
yeah,
it's not no yeet season
yeah,
again. But
yeah. I
like
don't mind it because it
yeah,
makes sense story wise.
exactly.
But I'm glad
Like
he didn't take the pin. I mean,
yeah,
that's the
me
good
too.
thing.
Me too.
Another person that I remember joking around about a couple weeks ago about Pete Dunne. I remember he lost the match on Raw, and then he lost one that following Tuesday. So now we're
Mhm.
gonna end up seeing him get pinned tonight, and then more than likely tomorrow he's going to be down for 10 seconds with that match with Trick. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, maybe you can get one over Sheamus.
yeah, I mean,
Maybe that's where it's all gonna lead to.
I personally do that, to be honest, because
Yeah.
it's one of those scenarios where it's like teacher versus student. So
Mhm.
realistically, the student should go over in that scenario. And I feel like it would do wonders for Pete Dunne, because Sheamus is pretty much bulletproof now. So if he
Yeah,
loses a match, it's not like it's going to affect him.
exactly.
So I definitely feel like once they ever have like a one-on-one match, um, a proper one, I would definitely put him over.
Yeah, same here. And I feel bad because like yeah, like you said, Pete Dunne's gonna be eating another loss tomorrow
Yeah,
night. Like
yeah,
he's not getting up from that.
yeah. 'Cause it's hard for me to like for like tonight's match. I understand why he lost, because I feel
Hmm.
like they have featured, because when you look at it, sometimes they want to protect certain guys because they have
Yeah.
certain plans for them, and obviously they see a lot in Dragunov, so they probably want to take some time to season him. And they're already telling a story with Jey Uso and Braun Strowman. I mean, Braun Strowman realistically could have took the pin, but at the same time, I mean, Bronson Reed just appears out of nowhere, so you can't really avoid that. So like Pete
Yeah.
Dunne was honestly the safest choice in that scenario. But, just going back at the match that he's gonna be having tomorrow with Trick, I mean, I can't really see, um, him taking that, number 1 contend I didn't know it was a number 1 contenders match, but I guess it is. But I can't really see
Yeah.
him taking that spot to go up against Ethan Page, considering that, yet again, like we saw with Jay and Braun, there's an ongoing story between Trick and Ethan Page, so it doesn't really make sense for that. I mean,
Hmm.
he must be getting paid good money to put people over, so there's that.
Yeah, really. I mean, I guess he's also kind of getting that fulfillment too of like doing some of the backstage producing roles stuff. So
Oh yeah.
and just kind of learning and all that from there. But
Mm.
I mean, yeah, I mean, good on the guy for doing the job and all that.
Oh
But
yeah.
it just sucks because it again as a fan of ah, also as a fan as Pete Dunne.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, I want to watch him succeed. I want him to win
Same.
championships and do all
Same.
that. But like, I do respect the work he puts in and doing the job for somebody and all that. Another spot too I want to highlight as well, like because at moments we got like Dragunov versus Pete Dunne, which inject that into my soul,
Oh
please,
yeah.
please, I beg you, like give me that one on one. Um, but they had a moment where like we kind of got to call back to like that famous sweet chin music that Sean gave to Shelton Benjamin, where Ilya Dragunov went for like the coast to coast and he ate that super kick from Jay.
Oh
Like
yeah.
they had like you see that spot, be played out by a few people. Like I remember seeing that like maybe a year or so ago at the most recent I can remember, but this was the best that I think it's looked recreated. Like I think it all has to do with just Ilya's selling of it, like how he landed and then how he just sold the move. And I'm surprised he kicked out. I almost thought that was going to be the finish right there, but
Oh, with
a
the
super,
super kick?
yeah. But
I I actually just
then I
saw it
remembered.
on
Oh wait,
Twitter.
yeah. And then I remembered. Oh wait, a super kick ending a match in 2024. Oh no, that's not a thing.
If it was Shawn, it'd be a different story, but we're not in that generation
Exactly.
anymore because those
We're
Shawn
not.
super sticks knocked you out.
I know.
Even when I played
Oh,
like the WWE games all those years ago, I could not ever get out of that pin.
yep. Those were always my finisher. I always had
Oh
like
yeah.
I was I was a young buck at one point. I had that as my finisher, and it was always my finisher, and it finished a match. But
The,
that's
the
old
funny
man
thing
yelling at
about that,
clouds.
the funny thing about that now, just to, like share a few thoughts on that for a few seconds.
Yeah.
A lot of those moves that we grew up with, like the spear and the pedigree and the super kick, a lot of them are being used as like those signature moves now.
Hmm.
Like their setup
Yeah.
moves. Like you see Seth doing a pedigree, you see Jay, Jimmy doing super kicks. I mean, obviously you still have spears for like certain people for finishers, but you see with like Jay, for example, doing a spear. Back then they used to be special, or like once it hit,
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah. I got the way I've been viewing like finishers or like people using finishers like that. It's like, okay, that's the skill that they like maxed out. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a very simple move that's nowadays and
Mhm.
compare it to what was somebody's finisher. So Jake the Snake Roberts, his finisher was a DDT.
Mhm.
That finished a match. And yet we see DDTs happen all the time. There's even variations of DDTs like tornado DDTs, reverse DDTs, whatever have you. But like
Mhm.
now that's just like a transitory move or like a
Mhm.
transition move or whatever. So it's like, okay, that doesn't end matches, but like everyone does it now, but it used to end matches.
Mhm.
That's basically what like the pedigree, the super kicks, well, especially super kick. Um, and now we're kind of starting to see that with the spear now, where it's becoming this transition move into your next attack. So like kind of like what you said with like the signature move, like you see in like the 2K games and all that, or like um again transitioning into your next move. Like usually with Seth, it's the stomp shortly after that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that's basically what's been happening with the super kick. Spears next. I wonder what's going to be after that. Oh wait, I know what's after that. The Canadian Destroyer.
Probably, I
That's
wouldn't be surprised.
that's that's slowly going up there.
Or somebody randomly
Um,
uses a choke slam as like a setup move.
I mean, I mean, I think I've seen what's his name, Baron Corbin. I think he used chokeslam for like a transition for a bit.
Oh, okay.
Might have. I don't know. Don't fully quote me on that one. But yeah, so Jay wins the match. He is now our number one contender for the IC title. When do you think this is gonna take place? Because they didn't really say like,
Yeah.
oh, it's gonna be at Bad Blood. You think this is gonna be on Bad Blood, or do you think this is gonna be the go home Raw
See, that's what I'm
for
trying
Bad
to
Blood?
think because a lot I'm gonna look at the card actually we have for Bad Blood
Hmm.
just to elaborate on my
Yeah.
explanation to your question. So, like looking at the card right now because we had 3 matches announced tonight. We got Liv and Rhea for the Women's World Championship. Obviously,
Yep.
their feud calls like when you look at I'll say it like this: when you look at the pay-per-view name Bad Blood,
Hmm.
it like the kind of feuds that are put on that pay-per-view shows like a lot of history between those two
Yeah.
people or 3 people, however it may be. Like Liv and Rhea, we know there's history there. With Damian and
Yep.
Finn, we know there's history there. With Punk and Drew, we know there's history there. And it's not like it's recent ever because it's been going on for quite some time for like all
Mm-hmm.
3 of these matches that I mentioned. And when it comes to like Jey in like Braun Breaker, I can't really say that it really calls for like a bad blood match. Could it
Mm-hmm.
be on the pay-per-view? Yes, because I wouldn't mind there being like a mid-card championship on the pay-per-view. But looking at how it is right now, since this was just a number 1 contenders match for Braun Breaker's next challenge, it's hard for me to really say this match will be on the PLE. Like I can easily see it happening, like you said, for the
Mm-hmm.
go home show for Raw for that following weekend, because I feel like that makes the most sense in my
Yeah.
personal opinion, because it doesn't really inject like bad blood unless things
No.
get to that level, but I can't really see it getting to that level.
Yeah, and especially in like because Bad Blood is in just like a couple weeks from now, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So like to really get, I mean, you could get that feud up to that kind of level, and I mean, people could always pull the whole because they did, mention family lines and family bloods and all that during that one promo like a couple weeks ago when we first got the seed planted. So people can pull from that as well. But yeah, I'm kind of seeing it more as a go home Raw kind of main event,
It
you
definitely
know.
feels like that.
Yeah, which I mean, I'm not mad at. That's cool because again, like if they're gonna be supercharging these go home Raws and SmackDowns for these events, you know what? More power to you. That just means the product is even better in our eyes.
Oh yeah.
Um, all right, well, do we have anything else that needs to be touched on with this new number 1 contender match for the IC title?
Nope.
Nope. I love to hear it. Well, from there, we're going to move on to our world title picture.
This was
Uh,
interesting
this was this
and
was very
confusing.
interesting. Somewhat confusing, yeah, but I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on it. We have Gunther confronting Sami Zayn again through Bret Hart. So again, we're in Canada. We got to wheel Bret Hart out of here and get that cheap pop and all that, but it's fine. It's all good because we have Gunther here to run down Bret Hart and Sami Zayn to keep poking the bear and trying to get his world title match. This could be a bad blood match just because of the history we have with
Yeah,
Gunther
see,
and Sammy.
yeah, this makes sense because
Hmm.
at least there's history here that we've known for quite some time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can definitely see like a match. I mean, it would kind of be weird if the World Heavyweight Championship wasn't on Bad Blood. I
Yeah,
could
it
definitely
would.
see it.
Yeah. But I'm curious though, because it's like because we're getting the WWE title getting
Yeah,
defended this
I would.
Friday.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's
they
another
could
thing. You got to figure out
pull it.
what Cody's doing. I mean, I would assume Cody's gonna be on the show. I mean, goddamn, he's from Atlanta,
Yeah,
Georgia. So
he kind of
him
has
not
to
being on
be.
the yeah, him not being on the show would be kind of weird. It's kind of like if AJ Styles is around, he would have to be on the show too.
Oh shit, come on, AJ, come back. Come back to
I
my
mean,
television screen.
if you think about it like this, if let's say hypothetically they waited a little bit to do that feud, and
Hmm.
they let's say they started doing it maybe in like July or something, and then they
Yeah.
did like 3 matches, this would have been like the perfect pay-per-view to like settle everything because they're both from
Hmm.
Atlanta, Georgia, and it would just be a perfect moment for the both of them to just fight in their hometown.
Yeah, exactly.
But
But yeah.
with this match in particular, like I could see it being on Bad Blood, but it all depends exactly like how they're going to be telling the story beyond this point. Because the
Hmm.
reason why I said it was like a little confusing to me, not saying that I hated the segment or anything, because I didn't, but it was a little confusing as to like, okay, what exactly are we trying to do right here? Like, are we just trying to just insult Canada just to get cheap heat? Or
Hmm.
is it just like what is this supposed to really do for Sammy? Because they started like brawling for like a little bit, but then Gunther ended up like walking away to like the front stage after he like embarrassed himself in front of Sami Zayn and Brett Baker. What the fuck is
Brett Baker, DMD.
Yeah, and like Bret Hart. So it's like I'm kind of wondering, like, you know, where else is it supposed to lead to? Like, what other seeds are going to get planted? Because do I want this match? Of course. I mean, we've seen the great match that they put on at WrestleMania. That was probably one of my personal favorite matches on the Mania card this year. So I would absolutely love to see that. I just want to know exactly like what else is going to be added in here, because I don't know why I was thinking this at first, because I know Brett's at the age where he doesn't need to be taking bumps. But I thought like Brett and Gunther were gonna be in the ring like we saw today, and then Gunther was gonna chop him or do something like that. Like not do like a whole bunch of them, but just like do one chop on him, and then you were gonna get Sami Zayn out there, like trying to, you know, defend Brett and stuff like that. I mean, I personally wanted Brett to be with CM Punk tonight, but CM Punk has to sell that attack, but he's coming back next week. But I was like really curious, like what they were gonna really do with this segment. I mean, it's great that Brett is back. He did look lost backstage, like when we first saw him, and I even saw
he was just walking around, being like, "Where's Natty? Where's Natty? Where am I supposed to go?"
And I even saw clips online where like people are like looking at like they're like recording clips of the show where Brett was going up to Wade Barrett trying to ask him like, "Oh, where's the hard cam? Like, where am I supposed to look at everything?" Like he looked really confused there. Not saying it wasn't great to see him, because it's always great to see Brett, but I just want to know like what's going on here. I mean, I like the whole interaction with Gunther. I did thought I mean the segment as a whole, like regardless of like my little nitpicks and stuff, I thought the segment was great. I mean, especially the conversation between like Gunther and Bret Hart. I mean, you obviously have to bring that up. It was kind of funny how he mentioned Goldberg here, because if people know about Bret Hart, like if you've been around when it comes to the world of professional wrestling, you know that Bret Hart isn't really fond of Bill Goldberg, because he's the reason why he was put out of commission, because of how rough Goldberg is. So it's like it was funny that he brought that up, because I at first was thinking he was gonna say Sean.
Yeah, I thought so too. I was like, okay, yeah,
because like I mean I wasn't really thinking he was gonna say Goldberg, but it would make sense why he said Goldberg, just to get a reaction on a Brett, considering how he feels about him.
Yeah.
But I really did thought he was going to say Sean at first, because we know that Sean and Brett have like a famous rivalry over the years, especially when it came to the catalog of matches that they had. So I thought he was going to say that initially, but when he brought up Goldberg, you know, that was really funny. I mean, that's probably like, I got to say, that's probably like one of the funniest segments we saw out of the year, just randomly bringing that up to Brett. Like that was definitely like really funny.
Because that's the thing. It's like a lot of Gunther's promos with Brett tonight, it was a lot of cheap heat stuff. It was like, you used to be the best, but now this is like a passing of the torch
time.
Like
a play on words.
Yeah, it's like, okay, like first of all, it was nicely done, but like when you kind of just look at it from afar, it's like, okay, this is the cheap heat segment, all that stuff. But like that Goldberg line, because I was in the same boat as you. I was just like, wait, he's gonna mention Sean, but then like the thought came back to him, like, wait, they kind of buried the hatchet, so like it wouldn't sting as much. It's more of like that would be a line for the IWC. To be like, oh, you know, Sean versus Brett for the 10 millionth time. Oh, who's in the big three? Like that kind of conversation, like that I just don't want to be a part of. I wonder
what you would say if like Gunther went up to you and he's like, you call yourself world you're the world champion, but I'm your world champion now.
Look, that's when I'll just kick Gunther in the nads and run away screaming.
Put him in a little sleeper hole.
Exactly. Oh man. Well, hey, maybe Sammy will do that. Maybe that's going to be how Sammy wins the world title from Gunther.
I want him to so bad. I mean, I know it's not going to happen now, but I feel like he definitely needs to. It just depends on when
Mhm.
the story calls for it. Because
Yeah.
realistically, I mentioned it now. The person I was referring to earlier is John Cena,
Mhm.
because I have a feeling if somebody is going to take the title off of it, it could potentially be John Cena, just because I feel like they want to give him his crowning moment, considering this is his retirement tour next year. But
And you know what's great? Guess who could take that world title from Cena?
who?
Another good old Braun Breaker.
Oh yeah, he could do that.
Mm. Because
That's
like
crazy. Like he
you
wins
could
the
have like
IC title this year, next year he gets the world title.
right. I mean, I could see it. I'm not mad at
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I
Like,
wouldn't be surprised if that's his last match, but I don't
mm.
know if he wants to save Randy for his last match. Because
Yeah, that's the other
I
thing.
think it'll be once January comes, we could probably get a good idea. I mean, not January. Once like February comes, well, I guess January counts.
Yeah.
We'll probably get a good idea of like what Cena's Road to WrestleMania pass gonna be. Same with like Gunther and Sammy and all of them. But I really do hope Sammy gets the big one. He deserves it. I mean, he's been on the main
He really
roster for
does.
years now. He's just been winning mid card titles, and we know he deserves more than mid card.
Yeah. And I mean, nothing wrong with like, I mean,
Oh yeah,
IC
nothing wrong
title
with
is
that.
great, but it's like,
Especially the way Gunther revived it.
yeah, oh my God, yes. But like, I mean, you look at some of Sammy's friends too. It's like, okay, Kevin Owens has already won his world title in the
Yeah.
company. I mean, granted, that was like 7, 8 years ago, but like he still won it though.
Oh yeah,
Still
that's
had
crazy to think about.
a. I know, and there's another one I want the
The
world
title
title
that
back
you
on.
have on right now is the one he won.
I know. That's why I keep it with me. Oh man, but I am excited for this match. Like you said, I'm excited for it. It's just like tonight and kind of last week. Well, last week was a little better, I thought, because like this week I feel like they only brought Brett out because hey, we're in Canada. Let's throw a Canadian in there, and we'll talk about another Canadian later on.
Oh yeah,
Um, but like,
that Watkins is a big fan of.
yeah, oh, great fan of. But like, I get it. I get why they did this, and at least Sammy and Gunther started getting a little more physical too. So that's
Mhm.
also a plus to see as well. But I don't know about you. I'm ready to move on from this
Oh, me
until we
too.
get something more juicy uh going forward. Because hey, we got some mid-card stories, and we're gonna start off just as the night started off with the mid-card. We had a mixed street fight match between the
Ooh.
Wyatt Sicks and American Made. This was a very, very fun match, I
Oh yeah,
thought.
I
And
love this match.
this took place during like the commercial free Raw, so we just got to watch it in all its glory. Okay, how'd you feel about that video package they played? Because I was just gonna be folding my laundry as like the beginning of Raw was playing, but like this made me stop, and I was like, oh wow, this giving chills and all that. All right, we're getting a video package for a weekly feud going on. All right, WWE, give it to me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I really like that video package. It was very well done.
Hmm.
That's one thing I can always give WWE credit for, is that they always do very well when it comes to building up matches, especially when it comes to the video packages, because you could
Oh
tell
yeah.
they put a lot of love into that, which is always great to see when everything comes together, because the video packages just tell a great story, and that's always wonderful to see. But I really
Hmm.
like this match. This was like a really good match. Like I definitely loved how they weren't restricted from like disqualification or whatever the case may be. Like they could
Hmm.
actually just go out and do whatever they want.
Yeah,
Um, and I'm glad it was a street fight. Like they could
me
just
too.
do whatever the hell they want, and they were. I mean, it was the perfect match for them to just let out all that frustration.
Hmm.
That's for
Oh
sure.
well, especially American Made because like they've been getting their butts handed to them by the Wyatts. So this must have been cathartic for a lot of times in this match, especially when they ended up burying Rowan underneath like all the rubble and all that.
Hmm.
And then I put it in our notes. I thought you might get a kick out of it. Oh, where'd I put? Rowan doing his best Michael Myers impersonation
I
by
mean,
just
that's
like,
definitely something Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees would do.
yeah, just like busting out of the rubble and then like literally kicking down the wall barricade and using that to just destroy everybody. Man, I love Rowan. He's so fun to watch. Uh, and like commentary pointed out, this is Nikki Cross's first match officially back, like since the repackaging and all that. Uh, I thought her and Ivy did fine. They were kind of MIA a lot of the night and a lot
Mhm.
of the match, but I mean the spots they did were pretty good. And hell, Nikki was able to freaking German suplex Chad Gable. I mean, say what you want about him being short, but that was impressive from Nikki.
Oh yeah, I'm glad that Nikki, especially because we haven't
Mhm.
really been able to see her do anything yet. So I'm really glad that she was actually able to go out there, and she actually did some pretty crazy things too when it came to like the German
Oh yeah.
suplex that she gave to Gable, and then that chair shot that she did to Ivy Nile. Like she actually
Oh
did pretty well.
yeah.
Like she didn't have to be like all over the place, but as long as she had some time to shine,
Yeah. And
that made
kudos,
me happy.
yeah, and kudos to Ivy for like taking some of those bumps too. Like, dude, that drop kick that Nikki gave when like she had the trash can over Ivy, like, I mean, I know it wasn't Nia Jax Mitchin levels of brutality from Friday, but this was still like really, really brutal for her to take.
Oh yeah.
Like, okay, so how do you feel about the Creeds taking another loss here? Because that's one criticism I know I've seen kind of thrown out here and there. Because like they made this new group with Chad Gable, this American made, and they brought in Ivy Nile too. But like they haven't won many big matches ever since forming. So how do you feel about like American Made's, I guess, trajectory going forward? Because I'm assuming we're done with this feud. Like,
I would hope so.
yeah.
Mainly because really this felt like the last match to really conclude everything, because
Mhm.
when you let them loose like this and to just go out there and just get out all their frustration, to me that seems like they're just wrapping everything up, and then moving on to the next chapter, because I don't want
Mhm.
to come off as like negative when I say this, but I personally don't want to see any more matches with them after this. The
Yeah.
match tonight was fun. It was definitely needed to just include everything like I said, but I'm hoping that the Wyatt Sicks and American Made can move on to this,
Mhm.
because I don't really know what the game plan is of American Made. I mean, they're going back and forth with Otis, and they're going back and forth with the Wyatt Six. So I'm hoping there's like a solid direction for them, because ever since Chad Gable like let himself out of the IC picture, he's been all over the place with the Wyatt Six, so I'm hoping there's actually like a good direction for him to go down. That's what I'm personally hoping.
Mhm.
Because if we get another match like this, I don't know if I'm gonna really care. Like I'm gonna want them coming out next week saying, okay, we're gonna have one last match between Chad
Yeah.
Gable and Uncle Howdy at Bad Blood or something like that. But personally, I don't want to see that. Like
No.
I'm done with it. Like I'd rather move on. I'd rather us just focus on like building new feuds for them, making them grow more, things like that. Actually establish American Made as a tag team, because I mean the Creed brothers are very talented and I want them to be utilized well. Same thing with Chad Gable. So I would personally, I mean, if it was up to me, I would have probably had them as tag champions at this point, just to
Mhm.
build them and just to make them look intimidating, especially with the role that they're in right now. And I would just, try to put them out there to really build up the tag division, because
Yeah.
the tag division, I'm pretty sure you noticed this too. and this goes for like both shows, Raw and SmackDown, they haven't really been getting like that much attraction when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to like really having like the show focused on like the tag team title scene. Like, yes, we get those matches every so often, but at the same time, comparing it to like an IC title, like a single mid card
Right.
championship, like you don't really get even any matches like that on like a PLE because, like I spoke of
Yeah.
before, they haven't been on a PLE since WrestleMania. So it's like, what are we doing here with them? I mean, if you would want me to choose a direction for a Wyatt Sicks or American Made to go,
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely say
Yeah.
the tag titles.
Yeah, because it's like, and I don't want to get on a rant about the tag title scene again because it's
Oh,
like
I don't either, but that would just be my
it's
personal
just the
choice.
same thing. Yeah, it's like uh, let's do something with these belts. I mean, we're finally getting a defense next week with this world title, like this world tag title picture. And I mean, maybe that's like the route we go to with the Creeds winning it, since technically they're heels. And I mean, if New Day win next week, they're faces. And hey, look, heel face dynamic right there. That could be a good feud for the belts right there. Kind of like doing the story where like, okay, American Made has to, basically build themselves up again and all that. Cause like me personally, I don't know how I feel about the Wyatts having a title. Cause I
Yeah,
don't
that's like the same thing with Bray because they don't really like the whole thing of Bray back then was he was supposed to be like this special character. So when you introduced a championship into the mix, it sort of took that factor away.
mm-hmm,
So I definitely see where you're coming from with that. That's why I would rather it be like American Made or something to make them look dominant or whatever, or if they want to target somebody else that has like some sort of like issues with how they treat whoever's around them, kind of like the similar story of like
mm-hmm.
Chad Gable, how he treated the Alpha Academy or whatever. If they want to move on with somebody like that, they could easily do that. But I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know either. I miss my tag team wrestling, like
I
because
do
that's the
too.
thing. You have so many good teams, and it baffles me because like Triple H was like when you looked at his NXT, one of the linchpins of it was the tag team
Oh
division. I
yeah,
mean, you look at like your DIY versus I almost called them FTR, but yeah, the revival and all that. There was a whole American Alpha stuff going on. There was Authors of Pain versus DIY, which I mean, all of that led to Gargano and Champa and their stuff, which we talked about on Friday. But like, you had a scene that was so rich in tag teams and like having match of the year contenders on your show, and like most of those teams are on your main roster now and you're not really doing much with them. I mean, we got little like tidbits here and there, like when we got Street Profits versus DIY. Oh, that was a beautiful night of
oh yeah.
wrestling right there.
Getting
But
a
it's
tag
like,
team match tomorrow.
yeah, there's gonna be. Oh my god, there is gonna be a good one tomorrow night. But like that, but see, that's also NXT. It's just like, why can't we be doing this on the main roster? And it's
Mm,
like,
exactly.
I kind of thought about this the other day, and I don't know if I said it in our group chat or if it was in another group chat. Um, I'm curious if some of this has to do with the whole Endeavor thing, because I guess in their minds they're more focused on like one-on-one bouts,
Hmm.
and it's like do they like not care much about tag teams? Are they like influencing this like kind of downgrade of the tag team division? And I don't want to think that way because it's like, well, they kind of let WWE do what they want to a point.
Yeah.
So why would they like influence the whole tag team division? I don't know. It was a weird thought I had, but I at least wanted to share it because like maybe there's some sort of footing with it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I'm just hoping it gets back on
Yeah.
track in general.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping so either, but Before we dive more into the tag team division, again, this match itself, it was a lot of fun. As brutal as it needed to be, especially on live TV. That's no knock to like live crowds and all that, but like this was just a really good free match on WWE TV. Mm.
Mm.
But we're going to move on ahead now to another segment of ours. This one involves a group that used to be a group, but is no longer a group. We have the Judgment Day and all of their wonderful, beautiful, awesome shenanigans that they got into tonight. Uh, a lot of stuff happened with the Judgment Day, mainly starting first off with Finn and Damian Priest kind of having words. I liked this segment a lot until we did the Judgment Day beatdown.
Yeah, I can say I probably enjoyed the segments a lot more with Judgment Day rather
Mhm.
than the matches themselves because the matches didn't really do anything for me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, what one of the highlights I do like about the Finn Balor and Damian Priest promo was I like how Finn Balor just went up to Damian Priest and he's like, "Well, I'm not a sidekick, I'm Finn Balor," which he's not
Mhm.
wrong because if you look at how he's been treated recently, he sort of does feel like a sidekick where he's not really able to show his true potential because we know that he could be like one of those main event stars within the division where he can go up against people like Gunther or Cody Rhodes and put on great matches and stuff. So we know he's at that level because that's how they set him up to begin with. I mean, the first time he was um called up in the main roster, he beat Roman Reigns, which was their poster child at that time,
Yep.
to head to SummerSlam to go up against Seth Rollins, and he won that title. So you can already tell right off the bat they're very high on that guy. So
Mhm.
whatever he said to Damian Priest here, he wasn't wrong because a lot of people view him that way. So I'm very glad that that was brought up. And I'm also glad that, again, this is another match that is taking place at Bad Blood. There's history there, there's a lot of story, and makes sense. But I enjoyed these little segments right here, minus the beatdowns, because we're always gonna get a whole bunch of beatdowns
Yeah.
between them. But I feel like one of the things I will say that kind of ticks me off at times is
Mhm.
like the whole what chance whenever like Finn's trying to talk because I've noticed that
Oh yeah.
recently or just in general like no disrespect to like the fans or anything because I understand it's just in the moment where they're just trying to do their thing or whatever, but
Mhm.
I kind of want to hear what they want to say because I want to get invested into like the sort of story that they're trying to tell. So when Finn Balor is like trying to talk to the camera and tell you what's going on, just hearing those what chants over and over and over again, I just feel like they're overplayed. If it's done at the right time, okay. But in that
Mhm.
moment, it didn't really call for it. And I know we don't have any control over that, but it just sometimes takes me out of the segment because it's like, okay, I'm trying to like listen to what he's saying. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
keep hearing this over and over again because I'm honestly hoping that this right here is slowly building us back to the Finn Balor that we once had before. Because I mean, I'd personally even feel like even if Finn Balor like left Judgment Day on his own, even if he just made that decision by himself, he would have been perfectly fine without them because he's already established talent and
Mhm.
people already behind him and people missed his old entrance to begin with when he used to interact with the audience whenever the lights went on and off. I mean, I'm really hoping this is like the beginning stages of like bringing back that Finn Balor, which actually makes me ask you this question because we are early in we still have a few weeks until Bad Blood, but
Mhm.
realistically at the end of this just based on what we've seen so far, who like how what do you personally want to see out of this Damian Priest and Finn Balor feud? Like do you want a certain talent to get enhanced from this, or do you just want it to conclude and not really worry about what happens with it? Like, what do you personally want this storyline to do?
I mean, it's kind of doing what I wanted it to do, which part of it was to enhance Damian Priest into that main event level and as like a main event talent, which yeah, it kind of has, not only from him holding the world heavyweight title, but like just from his like his eventual face turn. It's just like, okay, yeah, I'm a heel, but it's like I kind of want to prove that, even though I won this title in a heel, like kind of backstabby way, I at least want to show that, like, hey, I'm still something. Like, I'm still a force to be reckoned with. I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
some like cheap champion or anything. So it was kind of more of like a respect thing with that. But like at the end of this, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want Finn to be on top,
I do too.
and that kind of seems very counterproductive to what I just said. But it's like you could still like be on top by losing.
Yeah.
And it's like I mean, people can argue like the same way with Finn. It's like, okay, well, he could still look good, in losing. It's just like, yes. However,
I feel like he needs it more.
he needs it way more because ever since, and I've said it before, and I don't care if I'm repeating it, it bears repeating. Him losing to Edge at WrestleMania hurt him the most out of
It really
anything
did.
that's happened.
See, that
Because
was the
like,
thing that I was confused about is
mhm,
I didn't really understand why Edge had to go over in that match, because when I was
yeah,
watching that match, I don't know if they had to call an audible because he got hurt in that match and he got stitches, and
yeah,
maybe he was supposed to go over that match. I don't really know. I didn't really do any research on it. But my first thought when I was heading into that, just based on the story that they were telling, I I would have thought that Finn would have gone over in that match, and then that's when we would be getting those building stages of seeing the Finn that we've
mhm,
seen all those years ago. Because that's what I originally wanted too. So I definitely agree with you with that.
mhm. Because like that was my thing with like his promo tonight. Like
Mhm.
he's had like angry promos and like being pissed off promos and all that. Well, I guess quote unquote pissed off to kind of hit help my point here. But tonight there was a different energy to his voice and his words, and just this was the Finn Balor that I've been wanting for a long time. This is the
Oh yeah,
Finn Balor that I've missed, like this kind of intensity, and we even saw that like in his match with Ray later on, which I mean we could touch on here too, because
yeah,
really
might
like
as
yeah,
well,
that
right?
because like even though the match happened, it ended in a DQ with Finn just like wanting to hurt Ray, which was
Mhm.
the reason he wanted the match. Like where he said yes, it's just like okay, I don't care if I lose. I'm gonna like, It's more about sending a message, being like we may have lost Damien and Rhea, but we kicked them out for a reason. Like we are not to be messed with, and Ray had to be the sacrificial lamb for that. Which fine, like if anybody needs to, hey, good choice in Rey Mysterio.
Oh yeah. And Ray always sells like that stuff really well too. So he like really
Hmm.
makes it believable whenever it was going on. But I really like
Yeah.
seeing that side of Finn because that's like a side of Finn I haven't seen in such a long time. And I just feel like that it would just benefit him more in the
Hmm.
long run, just based on everything that we're seeing here. I mean, if you want to have Rhea go over, have Rhea go over, but Finn definitely for sure, especially if
Yeah.
you want to like give more credibility to him, and he definitely deserves it when it comes to
Oh
all of the
my
work
gosh.
that he's been putting through ever since
Hmm.
Judgment Day formed. I mean, give him his flowers like at some point, and I just personally want to see him get that proper treatment. And
Yeah.
when it comes to Dom, I mean, that's a whole nother story.
He just needs to eat a riptide.
Oh
Like
yeah,
just eat a riptide from
it's
Rhea.
definitely happening next month because I feel like they're saving it
Hmm.
for a perfect moment.
I think so too. So I'm looking forward to that part. But like, so back to like this Finn Damien stuff. It's like okay, I like the intensity. See, this is why I both loved and hated this segment, because it's like I loved the Finn and Damian Priest like back and
Yeah,
forth, and even when Priest
I'd
came
rather
out,
just have that whole
yeah,
segment, no
same
no
here,
interference.
yeah. But it's like as soon as Carlito and JD came out, it's like okay, here comes the beatdown that we've kind of been seeing all month long. And hey, like literally, I was just sitting there waiting. Okay, we're gonna hear Rhea's music soon. We're gonna hear Rhea's music soon. All right, here's Rhea. Great. Oh, she's still hobbling. Great. There's Liv's target. And guess what happens? Liv
See her.
goes for the target. Now, I do like a couple of the twists they did with this, with like the main weapon being the crutch and all that, and how like
Yeah.
Damien tried to shield
Yeah,
Rhea.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, but it's like those are little additions to what we've been seeing the past few weeks. And hey, even throwing Jey in there is like a pseudo, ally, I guess. But I thought, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I thought him coming out there almost sealed his fate for the Fatal 4-Way because I thought
Yep.
Judgment Day was going to get involved. And I was
That's what
like,
I
oh,
thought.
So I was like, oh wait, are we gonna get something like Ilya like that? That's why like Ilya or even Braun going
Yeah.
over in the match. I'm like, okay, that has some leg now. Like that's the whole thing about tonight, because it's like you had these different moments, like with like Braun Breaker talking to each member of the Fatal 4-Way tonight, like almost all of them. He didn't need to say anything to Jey, but like he talked to the other three guys throughout the night, kind of putting like this seed of doubt into us as the viewer. And then like the whole thing with like the Judgment Day with Jey coming out, it's like, okay, could the Judgment Day cost Jey now, because now he's getting involved in their business, So part of me's kind of surprised we didn't go that route, because that would have been kind of, it would have helped too with the Judgment Day being like, oh, nobody can mess with us. We still run Monday Night Raw, blah blah blah. Like it could have helped with that story too a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so we have to set up a match with Finn and Ray. They're basically backstage. Dragon Lee's like, hey, I've got backup in the LWO against dirty ass Dom.
Ray's funny whenever he's trying to talk shit. I don't know if it's just me that noticed it, because it always seems like he tries a little too hard.
Yeah, I almost thought he was gonna crack. I thought he cracked a little bit.
Yeah,
with Dom.
Yeah,
it was kind of funny.
Listen here, son.
Listen here, son. It's like, oh, okay, you're trying not to, but like,
yeah.
Oh, there was one moment he was
Butch.
just, oh my god, dude, I forgot to mention that earlier when like when Sheamus attacked Pete Dunne and he was just like, oh, you're my Butch now. It's like, oh shit. All right. Getting around that language barrier, huh? That PG language barrier.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, we got Dirty Ass Dom versus Dragon Lee coming up here. One thing I want to mention, the Judgment Day's new like color scheme. I'm not gonna talk about the new shirt because that new shirt is ass.
I'm glad we didn't see it.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't either. But they do have like a new color scheme, kind of going like with this just like white and black kind of thing. So kind of like a almost like a biker gang. So, like I kind of started thinking of like that show Sons of Anarchy. Just kind of like that color scheme of like a chrome kind of look, but cool. We're kind of separating the old with the new. Good on you. This match was fun. Like this match with Dragon Lee, like I need more Dragon Lee on my TV.
You see him showcase, period.
Yeah, like the man can go, and WWE's always looking. They've always been looking for their next Rey Mysterio, and like I know we've said it.
One.
Oh, he is the perfect one. Like his movement around the ring reminds me of like 2002, 2003 Rey.
Yeah,
like
it still blows my mind when he does that power bomb with like these bigger guys.
Oh, like the like that deadlift power bomb.
Yeah.
Oh, especially on somebody as dense looking as Dom.
Have you ever? I don't know if you ever seen the match on NXT where he was like going up against Andre Chase, and he actually put Andre Chase in that power bomb. I was like, that guy's huge, and he managed to do that. despite his size.
Yeah, I think I saw a clip of that. Um, yeah, but like the match was fine. I mean, there was a bunch of interference near the end, just because Judgment Day, LW are
Mhm.
feuding and all that. Which I was going to point out before we saw like the New Day getting their title shot next week.
Yeah.
I figured this was going to be leading towards the LWO taking the titles from Judgment Day, which
Yeah.
I mean, it could still happen. You know, you'll have to build up the LWO just a little bit more to be
Yeah. No.
credible. I mean,
Yeah, because you got to
you
get the
know,
crowd behind him too, so they believe him. Like, actually, give us a
yeah,
legitimate reason to believe. Okay, they might actually have a chance.
yeah. Instead, they'll probably watch if they do give the LWO a shot. It'll be like Ray and Dragon Lee
Oh yeah.
versus because hey, technically on paper, Ray did defeat Finn Balor, so
Yeah, he did.
so even though it's not a tag team match, hey, you're still a champion. You still lost. I don't know. Um, yeah, I mean, the match with Dom was fine. I mean, both are good workers. I really don't. Again, like these two matches in particular were more just kind of story and uh yeah, just more of just pushing that story with the Judgment Day and like basically using LWO as the stepping stones for Judgment Day to be like, yeah, we're still here, we still run stuff, and we're still strong until Rhea and Damian Priest are 100% and start kicking all of our asses again
Mm.
because it's very one sided and it's not the only one sided match we'll talk about tonight, but I think I'm comfortable with moving on. How about you?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Oh, good, because we are going to talk about a wonderful, beautiful, awesome segment here with Drew
Mm-mm-mm.
McIntyre explaining himself and his actions last week. This this segment was good. This segment was really good because like one thing I've appreciated tonight is that there has been a lot of logic being used. Like just in our last segment with Finn Balor and calling out Damian Priest and all that. Like Finn was justified in every word he said. He felt like he was being treated like a sidekick. He felt that, there was no more help within the Judgment Day from Rhea and Damien. And with Drew, again, he is justified. Like, yeah, Punk screwed me over plenty of times this year. Hey, you know, I pinned Punk at SummerSlam. Punk says he beat me. Oh, all he did was touch four corners of a ring. He didn't really beat me. I ain't done with him yet. So let's keep this going. How'd you feel about the logic that Drew had kind of justifying his actions last week?
Oh, he'll come up with anything to justify that he's always on top and Punk never got anything over him. Doesn't matter what it is. He'll think of some
Hmm.
puzzle for you to solve, so it just leads to him in the end.
Oh, that it does. Oh, I want to bring this up real quick. Apparently WWE is selling those bracelets
Oh
online.
yeah, oh yeah. I saw that earlier. It's like $10.
Oh, so it actually is on their store.
Yeah,
Ooh. I don't know how I feel about that because I mean, hopefully
yeah,
I don't
and
know. Yeah,
I,
it's
I feel
weird.
like I feel like she should get some. Um,
Something. Yeah.
she should definitely get something out of it because she made that for Punk at one of
Hmm.
those gatherings that they did, just
Yeah.
out of like pure love because she loves CM Punk, so she wanted to put the two things that he loves the most, which is his wife and dog. But I do
Yeah.
hope she gets something out of it because I feel like that's only right.
Yeah. It's just it's really weird,
I
you
mean, I
know?
personally would.
I mean, yeah, I would too. I'd be like, hey, money, please.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like Drew, so after he's done like justifying himself, he calls out Wade Barrett for like not allowing Drew to finish off Punk.
Mm.
And I like how Pierce came out at this part. Like he's like, look, you're getting delusional, dude. Like you need to chill. This whole obsession with CM Punk needs to stop because now you're going after your friends and all that. Like Pierce had Drew in a, I don't want to say he had him in a
He's very
mental
good on the
but
mic, even though he doesn't
he
wrestle.
really
He's
is.
very good. Like when he's like trying to corner someone and just lay the facts out there, he does a pretty good job.
Yeah, and because even with Drew just kind of protesting and being like, "Look, I'm trying to talk to my friend here." I love how he says that too. It's just like, well, you kind of were saying you were going to kick his ass if he pissed you off again, but whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That's besides the point, Drew. But like, yeah, we get our announcement. We're gonna get CM Punk and Drew McIntyre Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood. I loved Pierce's delivery for this. It
should main event. It
should. It really should.
No disrespect, Cody. I love you, big fan, but I feel like since this is a celebration of the pay-per-view, and they didn't really specify if there was going to be any other Hell in a Cell matches. I know we did talk about before that Rhea and Liv could potentially be one. It could very well be one if they wanted to put two, but
yeah,
I just have this gut feeling that Triple H probably wants to narrow it down to one. Because realistically, you can add another stipulation to Rhea and Liv's match if you really wanted to. If that's one thing we would ask for, if you don't get a Hell in a Cell match, which realistically you don't really need to, you can always make some sort of stipulation. But I definitely feel like this might be the only Hell in a Cell match we get in the card, which is perfectly fine because you want it to feel special. And I'm glad the red cage is gone. Just saying that.
Same here.
But I'm honestly expecting. I don't know if you saw this, but like Punk posted a picture on Instagram with his face all bloodied, and it was a reference to the dog collar match that he had with MJF. So I'm wondering if Punk is actually going to go the extra mile in this match and actually wield the Crimson Mask once again when it comes to this fight between him and Drew, because it can't just be a match where it's like they both look completely fine. Like when it comes to a Hell in a Cell match, when it comes to a match where you're ending everything in that Hell in a Cell, and we've seen that recently with a lot of feuds, like with Cody and Seth's feud and the Hell in a Cell when they had their third and final match. They got pretty brutal with each other. Same thing with like Finn and Edge. When they had their match, they got pretty brutal with each other. I'm pretty sure there was another one I'm thinking of. They got pretty brutal as well. Can't really remember the top of my head, but I'm hoping that they just go all out in this. Like they just.
I am too.
I'm not calling for like an unsanctioned match or anything along the lines of that, because I'm pretty sure Johnny Gargano had a lot of fun doing that with Grayson Waller last year. But which was a great match, by the way. But I just want them to just let all the frustration in that match, do what they need to do, and to move on. Not saying I'm getting tired of the feud, but I am very glad that this got a confirmation. We got Punk coming back next week. We could have more build up to it. I'm more interested in seeing what other fuel is going to get added to the fire besides breaking the bracelet, because it can't just be breaking the bracelet that Punk wants to demand this match with Drew. Like there's got to be more that's happening besides the beatdown and everything. Like what is Punk going to do to Drew in return besides what he did before? Like I just want a lot of fire heading into this match. Like if you look at the match, I'm not trying to make comparisons here, because each company does things their own way, and I'm not like one of those people online that like to put engage farm all the time and just watch the product just to engage farm and stuff like that. But like you look at what Swerve and Hangman did, as soon as they got into that, they started going at each other right away because of what Paige recently did to Swerve, where he burned down his childhood home. I want to see exactly like what other things get factored into there where they just want to bite each other right away. As soon as they get inside the match, they just want to beat the living shit out of each other. And it can't just be the bracelet.
No. And like what I wonder if they'll try to copy the whole thing where it's like the cage is lowering. It's like, oh, I'm gonna fight you to put your head underneath the cage. No, your head's gonna go underneath the cage. I wonder if they'll like pay a little tribute to that from Swerve and Hangman. But yeah, just leave the syringes alone. Leave those out of this. Like,
Hmm.
give me both Drew and Punk in the Crimson Mask. Like, I don't
See that
I
I
don't
would like
recall
that.
seeing Drew. Yeah, I don't recall seeing Drew with one, you know.
No, I don't either.
But like, especially now with like his longer hair and like
Yeah.
just the attitude he has now, like that would just be so sick to see that Crimson Mask on
Another
Drew.
another thing that I've seen people bring up as well, which is
Mhm,
actually a good thing to factor into, is a lot of people were saying like after everything's all settled and done with Drew
mhm.
and Punk, a lot of people are saying, depending on who wins that match, could we potentially get one of them going to like SmackDown just to keep them
Oh
separate?
yeah,
Because if you think of it like realistically, having them on the same brand after everything that happened and them just casually just walking past each other or whatever the case may be, if they're feuding with someone else, it would just feel weird just having those two on the same brand after looking
mhm.
at everything that happened between the both of them. So I'm wondering, maybe one of the stipulations added to this is whoever loses this match gets put on a different brand.
Yeah, but like, and I think we had touched briefly on that too at some point last week. I think,
Yeah,
yeah, with like a loser leaves Raw
yeah, I,
stipulation
I wouldn't
added to
mind that
it.
because I feel like it makes
I wouldn't
sense,
either. Yeah, I mean
and
it
at
would
least
because like,
Drew would have
yeah.
more opportunities over there.
Mhm. Yeah, and plus, like,
I
SmackDown kinda needs another
feel
top heel.
because if you think about it, really, like who's really there for Drew to like really start another feud with on Raw? Because it's not
Yeah.
like he's going to start something with Jay again, because eventually Jay is going to get into the whole bloodline story. And
Mhm.
I can't really see him getting into a feud with Gunther because, like, I'm just going to say an early prediction right here. And we'll obviously talk about it with Vash later on. But I
Yeah.
personally feel like CM Punk's probably going to come on top of the match anyway, considering that they're already teased us with the CM Punk and Gunther match. So I feel like a
Yeah.
nice reward coming out of that be like, okay, now it's time for me to go after a world title again. So it's like I can't really think of like anyone for Drew to really go after and have like a meaningful story with, because I would definitely love to see him have like another like great feud with somebody else. And if you want to give Cody other contenders on SmackDown, especially looking at the history that those two people have, I mean, that's like an easy feud you could do with Cody. I wouldn't have
Mhm.
any issues with that.
Yeah. And I know earlier you had asked about, like, what can we add more for, like, this CM Punk Drew
Yeah, exactly.
McIntyre feud, but it's so, like, adding that extra stipulation, I'm on board with that, but, like, I think one thing for me, at least in, like, the promo work for everything,
Yeah.
I don't think we fully got the story of what happened years ago. Because like, Drew had mentioned, like, back when he first came up to the WWE and all that, like, he apparently, like, looked up to Punk, and then, like, something happened where, like, Punk kinda betrayed him or something, or, like, betrayed his trust or something. I don't know if that was
Mhm.
just, like, Punk, taking the proverbial ball and walking home with it, or something happened. Like, I would like for them to touch a little bit more on that because, like, I feel like that has been the root of all of this, and we haven't really fully explored it, like, because we've had the bracelet thing, which was kind of like the item to put all that anger and frustration into, but it's like, okay, there's something deeper here, and we should get to the bottom of it here, hopefully soon, and hopefully, like, again, it would be a great way to just add that. I think that final layer for this feud,
Oh yeah, definitely needed too.
yeah. But I'm kind of on board too. I'm ready for this to end. I'm ready for like Punk to move on from Drew. Not that I haven't been enjoying the feud. It's just with Punk, you kind of have a limited window with him, I think. and the more dream matches we get from him in the WWE, the better. Like, especially the sooner the better. And plus for him just to get more reps in, dude. Like, keep having like these, very brutal physical matches, but like keep getting those reps up so that way like you start being more comfortable in the ring. Because I think that was like part of his problem. Again, I don't want to like badmouth the company or anything, but like that might have been part of his problem with AEW is like he never really eased in. They just kind of threw him into a lot of like feuds and matches and all that. Whereas like with his time with WWE, and especially this time where like he spent trying to rehab his injury, he spent time like in that system, kind of like easing back into it, not only just for his um injury, but also from like the time he spent away from the ring, not only just the years, but even like the in between months when he was also injured, you know. Um, so I think just like him being and doing like more matches too will also benefit. And hell, he still hasn't had like a Raw or SmackDown match. So we should be getting closer to that moment of them advertising, oh, this is CM Punk's first Raw match in like 12 years or whatever, whatever tagline they use. Um, yeah, but I'm excited for a Hell in a Cell match. Again, I love how Pierce, again, he sold all this, like not only just in the tone of his voice, but him just being like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done being nice. I'm done playing a good guy. Y'all need to end this, and there's only one way to end it. Like I think it just added to selling Hell in a Cell as a feud ender again
Oh yeah,
because
and I'm glad they use it properly because I remember
Mhm.
back then where they just used it as a pay-per-view and they just had like a shitload of Hell in a Cell matches. Like they're
Yep.
only needed when the feud calls for it. Like if it's a if it's a hot feud like CM Punk is or Rhea and Liv is, for example, given like
hmm
given the build that we've seen from their feud, then obviously stuff matches like that calls for it. So
Exactly.
I'm glad it's at least a special attraction now where we see it every so often.
Yeah. Oh man. But I'm sure we'll have more to speak of when Punk comes next week on
Yeah,
Raw.
should be good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm expecting some good things from Punk next week. But hey, let's go to
Oh,
some stories that have some real juice to them, some real meat on the bones.
oh yeah,
Uh we'll
that
start
makes
with
sense.
one of your favorite titles that WWE has. The women's tag titles are
Mhm.
on the line as Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill defend against Alba Fire and Isla Dawn in what can only be described from me as a very, very one-sided match.
Oh yeah.
Uh, how do you feel about it? Any different or like,
Like I'll be like I say all the time, I didn't this match didn't really do anything for me because
yeah,
my real question coming out of this is why should I care for the tag titles? Because you could
mm,
continue to do match after match after match, and the match could be great, but at the same time, like where is this going to lead tag titles? Because these tag titles have been treated like nothing for so long, so it's really hard to get into them again. Because one of the things that a lot of people say that I do agree with is because I see a lot of people online saying this, I see a lot of content creators saying this as well, is that you got to give us a legitimate reason to care about these tag titles. You have to give us a legitimate reason to care about whatever story's going along with the
mm,
tag titles as well, because you got to get something to sink your teeth into. You can't just watch this and be like, okay, this was a good match. Let's move on. Like,
yeah,
I just really want to know, like, what is the end result of this? And obviously, people are gonna say, well, you got to be patient. You got to let things play out. I get that, but at the same time, this has been an ongoing thing for quite some time, and
hmm
you could easily like strap those belts on like somebody else that has a lot of star power as well. But then I would ask the exact same question: what is the end result of this? Because we saw Isla Dawn and Alpha Fire get their rematch. We saw them confront Damage Control in the back. So it's like, where is this going to lead? That's why we've been very vocal about the whole mid-card thing, which is going to end up becoming a meme on this channel at this point.
Yeah.
Because we just want more opportunities for the ladies. And when it comes to like a belt like the women's tag titles, was that opportunity there? Yes. Was it used properly in the early stages? Yes. But ever since then, just like the IC title felt like many years ago in the US title, it lost their values and people just stopped caring about them. It wasn't until Triple H actually put love into those titles again where he made them actually feel special. And now the IC title legit feels like a world title at this point when you have it around your waist, just because of the credibility that was built with this. So I want to know exactly like what you're going to do with this. You can't keep saying we're going to put on great matches and we're going to look great doing it. Like, you have to have an end goal with this. That's my biggest problem with these tag titles. Even with like seeing the same people like fight each other over and over and over again. And I'm going to have a field day with the next segment. But it's like just seeing like the same people go at it all the time. I mean, what are we really doing here? That's why, like I told you and Vash before, that what I want them to do, and they don't have to rush it, they can take time with it, because I'm okay if they want to do like some long-term booking when it comes to this, if they want to take their time to properly build a story. I want to see at least some seeds start to form with this, like maybe after Bianca and Jade are like done doing like a few more title defenses. Like, I want to see like some tension build between the both of them. And like when I was talking to like you and Vash about this, it's not like me saying, oh God, I gotta see them like butt heads, just rip each other apart. Like, no, but you gotta see, like, people tune into like TV shows and stuff because they love seeing drama play out. They love seeing like, oh shit, she just did this to her. I got to tune in next week to see what's going to happen next. You got to add like a little spice into the mix to keep people interested. So that's why I want to see something with Bianca and Jay. Like, if I had to give a good example, let's say Jade messes up and Bianca was trying to do something, but they weren't following, but they weren't using like the proper teamwork that they normally do, or one has a bigger ego than the other, or you get what I'm trying to say. That's the kind of stuff I want to see. I want to see some sort of story slowly being played out, like what we see with like a good example is Tiffany and Nia. There's little seeds being planted little by little with them, and it's eventually going to turn into this big story with the both of them. I want to see this with Jada Bianca, because it's not like they recently formed as a tag team like last month. They've been together for quite some time, so it's like at this point you would expect at least a little something out of that. I mean,
like
glad
it's
that
it's already been like 8 months since they've kind of like formed the team, so it's like, okay, we've had 8 months of them, being together, and like, because that's the thing with them with the tag titles. It's like the end goal is to eventually have that Bianca versus Jade Cargill match,
which definitely feels like they're saving it for WrestleMania now.
Yeah, but like around this time though, you normally see those WrestleMania seeds be planted, and like, even if it's just like a subtle kind of thing, like, okay, let's take tonight for example. Like, Bianca could have like made some sort of comment being like, oh well, you were a little late on that save, after like that double team move or whatever that Alba Fire and Isla Dawn do. Because that's the thing, like, I almost thought Jade wasn't going to be in the ring to break it up at first.
Yeah, I thought that too, because they were so close.
Yeah, but like, I thought, okay, well, that could have been like a nice subtle thing, or like the rivalry could start off like as a friendly competition, like, oh, look how long I can hold this vertical suplex for. Oh yeah, look how long I can hold this vertical suplex for, and it can like kind of devolve almost like, remember when the bar first started, where like it started with like
a series
that
of
best of
matches, right? Yeah.
yeah, it was like the best of 7 series or whatever. It's like
Mhm.
Sheamus versus Cesaro, both going at each other, both despising each other, and then like they became a tag team. And it's like they kept trying to one up each other in matches and all that, and then it eventually evolved into the bar and them like being an awesome tag team too at the time. But then like with Jade and Bianca, what you could do is you could do like a de-evolution of that, where it's like, okay, they started off very strong, very like tight knit, and then it's just like, okay, well let's kind of have fun in matches. Let's compete with each other. It's like, okay, well, competition, yeah, it could make you better, it could, make you grow and all that. But then it's like, okay, at some point, someone's gonna get pissed off, and the tightness starts getting looser and looser as like you either keep losing something or like the other person just keeps winning. Like it just gets to a point where it's just like, okay, you know what? Forget you. I'm done with you. I'm over this. Let's have a match like this. Like almost, almost another way too to compare. You could almost do like a Rey Mysterio Eddie Guerrero with this.
Oh yeah, you can easily do something like that. That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
like
It's
there.
like
Mhm.
like even if they want to plan like just a few seeds, just a little something, just
Yeah.
to like spark some sort of conversation if people want to talk about it. That's why it's like kind of hard to talk about
Mhm.
like certain segments when we do the podcast, when we talk about the
Yeah.
show, because you don't really give us anything to work with. Like we can say every single show, this match is great. I love this suplex. I
Yeah.
loved how Solo just thumbs people 8 million times. Like we can count, we can obviously say that with like every single match that we can talk about, but at the same time you also want people to get invested in stories, so you got to give us something to
Mhm.
work with. We can't keep complimenting everything and talking about what we like and dislike about a match. Like you got to give us something else, because
Yeah.
because when it comes to this, that's why you saw me go on like a little like just took like a few minutes just trying to think of like a couple things to really say about this, because it was really hard to really come up with like any sort of ideas to really like give proper thoughts on what's going on with Jade and Bianca, because it just seems very bland. And I love Jade and I love Bianca. I have nothing against them. It's just you're not giving me anything to work with. It's the same shit we've been seeing for like quite some time now.
Mhm. And like that's the thing. It's like, especially with matches being so one-sided, you
Yeah.
know, it's like you can use that, like you could use that to your advantage, man. Like again, this just ties into again with like the whole just the tag team division itself, like men, women, Raw, SmackDown, NXT.
Mm,
Well, NXT is fine,
mm,
but it's like you have all these wonderful tag teams. There's so many routes you could do to tell an interesting story and to like do
mhm,
something, and yet you don't. Like with Jade and Bianca, if the matches are gonna be this one sided, then have fun with that and like craft your story, because like
mhm,
we all know it's gonna end up leading to Jade versus Bianca in some way, shape, or form. So use these like one-sided fights to your advantage. It really shouldn't be that hard, but like I don't know if this is just like, because again, you could talk to the internet and they could be like, oh yeah, cook, but it's like sometimes you can overcook something too.
mhm.
Sometimes you can like not put the right spice in there or the right flavoring or whatever. Like sometimes you can mess up your cooking a little bit, and it doesn't come out just quite as you like it. Um,
And
and
another
like,
thing,
yeah,
on another thing too. Sorry to cut you off, but like
no, you're good.
another thing too is like with damage control too. Like, what's the game plan with them? Because at least with them, they give us something to work with.
Hmm.
Because when we had them, when it came to that story with Bailey earlier in the year, that was something that me, you, and Vash talked about quite a bit, because we were really invested in that story with the sort of direction it was going down.
Yeah.
But it's like, getting Bianca in the mix with damage control again. It's like we've seen that. We know the result of it already. Io and
Hmm.
Kyrie don't deserve it because they're very talented, especially with how high they are on Japanese talent, especially with Julia recently joining the company. I mean, just the presentation alone, you can tell how much they love her. They don't do that for anybody, trust me. When they want to put a lot, it's either people like Asuka, Kairi Sane, Io Sky, Julia, or the Bloodline. They get like these special entrances, or Cody Rhodes. Well, Cody Rhodes, that's all under him. you don't touch that.
Yeah.
But it's like, certain people they care for, they care for. So I mean, whatever's going, I don't personally want to see Damage Control go up against Jada Bianca because I don't want to see Io and Kyrie lose because they don't deserve it. So I just don't know. It's like it's so hard to talk about these tag titles whenever we get to it in the show because there's never anything to work with. You have to come up with our own material.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I think one thing too, I guess, with at least with Damage Control, at least the dynamic is a little different since they are faces now, or like
I like that too.
I guess maybe tweeners or something. So at least there's a little bit of a different dynamic, and plus, like, when I even tried, keyword try, whenever I try to think of the women's tag title scene or like the division itself, it's like the only credible threats I could see are Io and Kairi Sane because they are credible in the ring. Like, I mean, Io's beaten Bianca before,
Yep.
So it's like I could see that, I could see them coming up with a way to defeat the two and maybe like finally drive that wedge between them,
Yeah.
But again, like, it takes effort to write and to create. Put forth a little bit more, I guess, with all this. But you know what? I'm gonna end your suffering here, Drop. I'm gonna end it right here and right now, okay? Because we got another segment. We got another beautiful, awesome segment.
Save the best for last.
I did. Oh man, we have the Bathroom Break Collective. Excuse me, sorry, the Pure Fusion Collective taking on Lyra Valkyria, Zelina Vega, and their mystery tag team opponent. I hope you watch NXT because it is not Tatum Paxley. It is Canada's own Natalya.
Walk-in's favorite.
Look, okay. Before you go off, because I know. First of all, Lyra's entrance getting cut off. Fuck that. And fuck you, Sonya, for doing that. There's two of my F bombs for you. You're welcome, YouTube. Okay, I get it. You're in Canada. Have your Canadians do their thing. I get it. Natalya, really, like every time her music starts, my brain just shuts off. Like, I just get into the mood where it's just like I don't want to watch, and like, and it's not really the fact that Natalya is bad because I don't really find her bad. I find her.
She had a good match at Rhea not that long ago too.
Yeah, exactly. I just find her boring as hell. Like, she's just boring. Like, she comes out there, smiles, does her thing, leaves, and like, that's it. That's all you got. That's all you're giving me. Okay, all right, cool, great. I just, it's the same things we've been talking about from week in to week out. PFC is not doing it for me. Pure Fusion Collective is not doing it for me. I need them just done. I need them done. I need the experiment to just be over with, but it can't be because now they have matching They have matching gear now.
Like, I didn't even notice that. That's how much I didn't care.
Oh my god! I saw.
As soon as you brought that up, now I know they had matching gear.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, well, I guess now they're a thing for a bit.
Oh,
great, Like they've barely won. They look like they look like dorks. They look like
That's
big
another
old
thing. It's gonna be
dorks.
fun to tackle.
Like,
Oh
and not
god.
even the fun kind of dorks like Ed, Ed and Eddie. No, they are
No.
strictly like just dorks with a capital DORK. You don't even get the Z, you get the S. Like you
Oh
get a
yeah.
lowercase s, not like a this.
Pure fusion.
I'm just
Oh,
so
okay.
tired of it because Lyra deserves better. Freaking Zelina Vega deserves better. Shayna Baszler deserves better. Those three in particular deserve better. Like,
Mhm.
and Shayna just signed a new deal too recently.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like,
I think it might have been yesterday. I'm
so
not sure.
I mean, good on her for getting the money. And I mean,
Mhm.
if you're cool with what you're doing, fine. It's just as a fan of yours, I want better for you. But
Mhm.
drop what fun things you have to say about this match? Because like I could barely watch it at all.
Like
It wasn't
honestly,
good.
they're like here's like my main issue with Pure Fusion Collective, and I'll be respectful and I'll call them by their
Yeah,
actual name, PFC. I'll just say PFC just because it's easier on the tongue. But
yeah.
like my main issue with them is that they're trying to build them up as a dominant force. So if
Mm-hmm.
you want to do something like that, you have to you have to have a lot of wins under your belt to make you feel believable. You can't come out there and continue to talk shit over and over and over again and lose matches. You can't be cutting off Lyra Valkyria's music, which I understand why she did it because she's a
Why?
heel and that's a heel tactic. I understand
Yeah.
why she did it. But at the same time, the crowd was getting behind it, and I was really happy for that because Lyra deserves it, and it's good that people are recognizing, you know, who she is and everything, which is one of the things
Mm-hmm.
I wanted when she came over. But it's like you want this Pure Fusion Collective to be like this dominant faction, and it's hard to really believe that you're capable of doing anything if just continuing what I said, if you're talking a whole bunch of shit but not backing it up.
Mm-hmm.
Because realistically, if you should be like going through multiple teams and keep moving up each level over and over and over again to actually earn that title opportunity against Bianca and Jade. Like if you want me to put the women's tag titles uh in this whole scenario that I'm trying to tell, you have to make yourself believable, like you're actually worthy to challenge Bianca and Jade. You can't
Mm-hmm.
just talk shit and do this and that. That's why like I don't really care about them because whenever I see them go on screen, I'm like, okay, here we go again. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
concept over and over again. If they like it, I mean, all to them. But as a viewer, wanting more out of the talent, especially when it came to like Shayna Baszler, which we've seen before in NXT, and like I've also mentioned before, first impressions mean everything,
Yeah.
especially like when you're on the main roster. You have to make a good first impression. Like, let's compare Lyra. Like, when Lyra first came to the main roster, she had a good first impression because she participated in the Queen of the Ring tournament and she made it all the way to the finals to go up against Nia Jax. Did she win? No, but she made herself look like she's that girl
Mm-hmm.
based on how far she went in that tournament. So the audience can be like, you know what? I really like Lyra. She actually has a lot of potential. And looking at Perfusion Collective, it's like, what are we trying to achieve here? Because you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. Like, it's obviously not getting over with the crowd because they don't
Mm-hmm.
really get any reaction when they go out there. And if you're
Yeah.
fans of them, that's perfectly fine. Nobody's saying that they're not fans of Zoe Stark, Shayna Baszler, or Sonya Deville. Nobody's saying they're not fans of them. Nobody's taking anything away when it comes to those three people. It's just the faction itself isn't really benefiting them at all. I
Yeah.
understand they wanted to put Shayna there, I mean Sonya Deville there to help, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark to get over and turn this into something that could actually work out well for them, but it's not going anywhere. Like, it literally feels
Mm-hmm.
like anime filler, and
Yep.
not the good filler that you could like sit down and watch and actually enjoy. It's easily like that filler where if you want to skip it and just get back to the main story, you can easily do that. Because I even looked at my mom when I was watching this tonight, because I tend to
Mm-hmm.
watch wrestling with my family like every single Monday and Friday before we do the podcast. I was watching it with her, and I told her, I was like, "Oh my god!" And she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Mom, we see this every single week. It's almost like you're watching a repeat of the show. You know
Yep.
how it starts from beginning to end. Nothing changes. Like, you need to make them feel like they're legitimate. You can't keep doing this."
Yeah. And like especially for especially somebody like Zoe Stark, because like there is potential in Zoe Stark,
Yeah.
because like she's very solid in the ring. I think most of the stuff that she needs to work on is stuff outside the ring, which she can, you know, but it's like you bring her up as this Trish Stratus protege. Okay, fine, fine start. Let's see where that goes. And it was going somewhere, especially when she turned on Trish, and then nothing after that. I mean, she got the title shot against Rhea, which that was a good match, I thought, from what I remember. But just nothing after that. Like she kind of was friends with Shayna. They were kind of having like a fun little rivalry at one point, but then they were just like friends and all that. And they won the tag titles for a bit, but then lost them. It's
Mhm.
like with somebody like Zoe, because like now that she's got Sonya Deville around her, I don't feel her benefiting from this at all. And like,
No.
so that if you cast y'all's minds back to Friday, when we were having our discussion about like Giovanni Vinci, with like the
Oh
story
god.
going forward with all of that, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, that was at the moment with like his story right now. That's at the moment where you do say, okay, let's see where this goes. Let's see where the meal's going with this proverbial kitchen cooking nightmares that we keep doing with our wrestling and all that. But it's like Pure Fusion Collective have had their time to kind of cook a little bit, and the meal is just bland as hell. Like, even blander than what we were just talking about before this. Like,
Yeah.
this almost has nothing to do with. There's no benefit for anybody. Like,
And it
the only, you know what? The only person that benefits from this is Sonya Deville, because she's leading a faction, and that's
yeah.
basically it. Like,
Yep. The other two are her lackeys,
yeah, like it
surprisingly.
just it's mm,
And another thing
got
too,
me
it's
sounding
like
like Porky Pig out here because of this. Like, god damn.
and and another thing too, it's like Lyra and Zelina, and I'll even throw Natty in here as well. Like, definitely
Mhm.
deserve to be put into better programs than
Yeah.
this, because they're like talent that you want to depend on, especially when there's no more Charlotte, there's no more Bailey,
Right.
there's no more Becky whenever she comes back,
Mhm.
and Bianca, etc. so on. Like, these people right here, especially when it comes to Lyra, these people right here are going to be here for generations to come to help
Yeah.
build your women's division, because you can tell that they're trying to find their next Becky Lynch.
Mhm.
And when it comes to me, when I look at things and people say that, there's never going to be another Becky Lynch. There's only one Becky
Yeah.
Lynch. But Lyra Valkyria is going to be the next Lyra Valkyria. She's going to do things that she always dreamed of doing, reaching that star status that she deserves. And
Yeah.
this is somebody that could help mold your division and bring it to great heights. And I personally believe that she has the ability to do that. And one of those first steps to make these people feel special is actually putting them into meaningful segments or matches to actually help them stand out. Because it sucks for me to see talent being wasted. And I'm not saying that like talent. Well, I mean, I guess I actually, yeah, I guess I can say talent is definitely being wasted right here with this whole Pure Fusion Collective thing and the beef that Lyra. I mean, I personally would honestly rather have that whole Lyra and Damage Control feud continue, because that was actually interesting and I really liked the direction it was going.
Yeah.
And I mean, personally, I like how Watkins said earlier, but like Natty coming here, even though it made sense, even throwing Tatum in the mix would just spice things up, given that Lyra's on NXT now, helping Tatum out with the current feud that she has, which I love because at least it gives Lyra something to do. So she's not. I mean, she could personally enjoy this, and I'm happy for her if she is, but it's just hard for us to sink our teeth into stuff like this because we want it to be meaningful. We want all 6 of these girls to actually go out there and do something and actually get gold wrapped around their waist and actually have the crowd behind them if it's cheers or boos, but it doesn't really seem like anything's coming out of this, and that's the issue. There's no story.
And and here's the thing too, it's like you also had a great marketing concept right here, like tailor made for you too, because so the promotion this week for like the USA Network is that it's WWE week because like it's the season premiere of Raw, NXT, SmackDown on USA. So it's like, okay, what better way to promote some of your shows, especially one that like maybe doesn't get a lot of views, when it comes to like ratings and all that. I mean, I know it's not a huge name, but hey, having somebody like Tatum Paxley would have been good.
Yeah.
Like, to at least, because, like, not only do you have the tie ins with what's going on in NXT, but hey, Lyra needed help on the main roster. Let's have this NXT talent here. Because, like, that's also a good way to kind of like promote, hey, watch NXT tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Because you could see more of this superstar there,
Exactly.
But no, instead, we got to be in Canada and it's got to be Bizarro World there. So hey, here's Natty, which again, fine worker. Just it's a wet fart. That's what it is. But Natty, like, and yes, I understand the irony of calling Natalya a wet fart. Like I get that part too, but like, I was just,
I know you.
It was so deflating, dude. Like as
Well,
soon as I heard the guitar riff, I'm like, okay, all right.
They're like, oh, is Bret Hart coming out again?
I was like, oh,
imagine. It's like, oh shit, am I supposed to be out here?
He's like, oh shit, I missed my cue. he just stumbles out. He's just like, oh, damn you, Goldberg.
He's like, oh, I forgot someone else has my entrance theme.
Oh yeah, I have family that still works here, huh? Oh shit. All right. Well, let's all
if that
blame
happened, I would have
Goldberg
laughed my
together.
ass off.
Oh, same here, dude. It would have been awesome. But you know what? I'm done giving that match and segment the time that we even gave it. So Raw overall. What you think of the show overall tonight?
I thought it was a solid show. It did what it needed to do. Highlights of it was adding the bad blood matches that we predicted was going to be on the show. So I like how we got that. Going to get more built with that next week, especially with CM Punk coming back. So hoping for good things. Finding out Braun's #1 contender was nice. Predictable, but predictable isn't always bad. So not against with the result because it made sense given the story that they were telling. They're just throwing it in your face sometimes. But Yeah, I thought it was a solid show overall.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. I thought it was pretty good. Highlights, I mean, definitely the street fight we got at the beginning of it, especially the video package too beforehand. Oh, I guess one quick thing with like production wise, at least, I wanted to point out. I like how with Raw, they're starting off with the announcers like on the live mics talking to the crowds and like kind of doing their own version of a vast stampede, if you will. Uh kind of running down like the things that were announced that night, what we can, get ready for. But like I like how they're on the live mic doing that because like normally at home, you hear the announcers when you're at the live
Hmm.
show, you don't. But like this kind of makes you feel like you're you're watching the same product as those that are live. So it's like, okay, having the announcers talk to us both in the stadium or at home at the same time. I don't know. It kind of added another layer for me for like the production and just like the overall presentation that Raw is going for here.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, biggest highlight for me, street fight, obviously, and then like having Punk and Drew officially be a Hell in a Cell match now. Um, Finn's promo work tonight was really good, and yeah, I think match of the night definitely was the Fatal 4 Way, and
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah, I again another solid week for Monday Night Raw. But you know what? I think that about does it for us tonight. Um,
Yes, sir.
yeah, well, you know what, guys, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, don't worry, you guys aren't ignorant tonight or from the Boiling Isles, but that's neither here nor there. Vash isn't here to tell you guys where to go, but hey, I think we got this. I think we got this because there are some links
Cool.
that you guys can go to in the description below. You can go check out both mine and Drop's channels on our YouTubes. We talk about many different things. Me, I talk about anime, manga stuff, and getting into some other stuff here too. So tune into there, and then Drop has some fun things coming out this week. I think today was your Barrett video? I
Yeah,
think
I
I
had a lot of
saw.
fun doing that one. That was a fun one. Tomorrow is going to be
Yeah.
Ben 10, so any Ben 10 holics
Ooh.
got a Ben 10 video to look forward to.
Oh, goody, 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 goodies. Yeah, so definitely check him out there. Again, the links to our socials are down below, as well as everybody else on the team. Vashes, Rome's, Jokesters. You can find all of us description down below. But hey, that's it for us. I think that's it for the night. So thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to the Weebs of the Ring podcast. If you enjoyed what we had to say, want to do exactly what I said. Again, all the links down in the description. We are known as Animal We Studio on all social media platforms. Just remember that's we with a 3. And also use the hashtag Weebs of the Ring to interact with us about anything wrestling related before, during, or after the shows. We always enjoy feedback because, hey, we want to get better and give you a much better show than the previous one. Weebs of the Ring is presented by Anima We Studio. Thanks as always to our production team of Vash, Watkins, Drop This Box, Rome, and Jokester, as well as JB and Abe for all the things that you guys do in the behind the scenes. Thank you once again for joining us. And remember, as always, no stunt grannies were harmed in the recording of this podcast. Have a good night, everybody.
Peace out, guys. Have a good one.
And also, since Vash isn't here, cheese does not belong on pancakes. Okay, bye.